Welcome to Timeless Sparks, where the echoes of the past ignite your curiosity today. In this episode, we dive into the life and legacy of a man whose very name became a byword for cunning and calculation. If you've ever heard someone described as Machiavellian, you already have a hint of whom we're about to meet. This is the story of Niccolò Machiavelli, diplomat, philosopher, controversial genius, and some might say the original political realist. Our story begins in Florence, Italy in 1469. The city was a jewel of the Renaissance, a place where the walls echoed with music, debate, and the clatter of artists at work. Great thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci walked the same narrow streets. Yet Florence wasn't only a breeding ground for creativity, it was a cauldron of intrigue. Rival families, foreign powers, and old vendettas all vied for control. Here, amid the chaos and ambition, a young Machiavelli learned to watch, to listen, and to understand the deepest currents of power. Niccolò didn't come from nobility. His father was a modest lawyer with a love for books, and from an early age, Machiavelli was immersed in the world of letters and history. Politics always seemed to draw his gaze. When he was still in his 20s, Florence cast out the ruling Medici family, and the Republic was restored. Machiavelli saw his chance. By his early 30s, he had risen to become a senior official and trusted diplomat. Machiavelli was sent on missions across Italy and beyond. He met kings, popes, mercenary captains, the decision-makers whose commands could spark wars or forge peace. Machiavelli observed them closely. He noticed that beneath their fine words and ceremonies, the real game was about calculation, survival, and an occasional ruthless choice. But the winds of fortune quickly changed. After years in charge, the Republic fell. The Medici, returned to Florence by foreign armies, viewed Republicans like Machiavelli as enemies. He was dismissed, imprisoned, and famously tortured, a victim of the very power plays he had studied so well. Released but broken in status, Machiavelli retreated to his farm outside Florence. Yet exile only drove him to deeper reflection. In the quiet of the countryside, he began to put his observations to paper. The most famous and infamous of these works is The Prince. Unlike philosophers who had written before him, Machiavelli's guide for rulers was a sharp break from tradition. The Prince wasn't about what leaders ought to do in a perfect world, but what they must do to survive and prosper in a deeply imperfect one. His advice was clear and blunt. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He spoke of the need for flexibility, the wisdom of knowing when to keep a promise and when to break it. For Machiavelli, morality had to be weighed against necessity. This worldview scandalized Europe. To some, Machiavelli seemed to advocate cynicism and ruthlessness for their own sake. His very name, Machiavellian, soon came to mean sly, manipulative, unscrupulous. It didn't help that the prince was quickly banned by the Pope. Yet Machiavelli saw himself not as a corrupter, but as a reporter, someone who dared to describe things as they are, not as we would wish them to be. Later scholars saw Machiavelli as a pioneer of political science, analyzing power with stark realism. His ideas shaped thinkers like Hobbes and Rousseau and leaders like Napoleon, sparking debate. Was he villain, visionary, or simply a mirror to power? Though he died in 1527, his insights on confronting harsh realities and balancing virtue with necessity endure. Thank you for joining us on Timeless Sparks, where stories never grow old and ideas live forever. If you found Machiavelli's journey through power and adversity as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The next spark could come from anywhere, and history, after all, is still writing its next chapter.